So here we are back at this gravel pit. There's not much gravel, but there is a lot of sand, and it works perfect for me and the gold cube here. It's really easy to classify down material down to 1/8 minus to run through the gold cube. Now we pre-wet our mats, of course, and we're just letting the whole system get charged here, and I'm looking at the mats and everything looks perfect. And we've leveled up the gold cube, make sure that we're not loading up one side more than the other side. And we're ready to run some material through here. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking a cut right up this open face of this sand pit in here, and seeing if I can see if there's any particular layers in here, or if it's just a conglomeration of sand, which I think it is anyway, so it's not going to really matter. But I'm going to start at the base of the hill here, right where this guy, he used to have a sand and gravel operation around here. The gravel petered out on him, so he quit in this pit, so it works great for me. Now we hauled up everything yesterday, and we got set up here first thing in the morning, and it's been really hot. As you can tell, my shirt is soaked, and it's where my belly hangs over my belt here. It kind of soaks my pants too. So we're going to run through a bunch of material here, a couple of buckets that I've got classified up. We're going to run that through, and then a whole bunch more, and we're gonna work here probably a good 4 or 5 hours, and then I'm gonna pack everything up. Then I'm gonna go back down to the creek. Water's really going down fast around here, so and I know that creek, it doesn't flow all the time, so I got to catch that creek in the right time while I still have water back in there to work some of those sands that have been classified out of another hill of sand where that creek runs through that and classifies it down. It doesn't have to work for me, so all I got to do is go along, and it's really dark sand. Everything looks real nice there, and I know there's gold down there, nice little particles. And I'm going to see what we got up here. And in order to do that, I'm going to run a known quantity through, and I'm going to compare that to what I'm getting down at the creek side here. Then I know where I can maximize my efforts on this little piece of property here. This is really good. It's really close to town. It is quite a hike in here. There's probably a couple hundred feet of elevation change between where I have to park and where I got to haul everything up here to. And we got some water down from a dugout, about 200 yards from here, and it's only down about 50 feet in elevation, so that wasn't too hard. I only had to make a couple of trips with the buckets, which was kind of nice. After yesterday's hike in here, I was kind of tuckered out there last night, so anyways, we're going to get going here, run some material through. Now the reason I do this, I put my material in a gold pan. And I see lots of stuff that flashes real nice in the sun, but you know what? All that glitters ain't gold. So anyways, I was telling you why I usually put the material in a gold pan. Is that I've got a safety pan underneath here, and that's basically just to keep the sand out of the pump. So I know when I've worked through this pan full of material, then I know I have a pan of tailings down at the bottom. All I have to do is just switch out this pan with that pan, dump the tailings, fill another pan and go again. kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm almost acting like a little paddle here. So I'm going back and forth. The feed, I know you can't see it from there, but the feed is going from one side of the gold cube to the other side of the gold cube. So I'm not overloading one spot in particular all the time. That way you can run a little bit faster. I clogged her up a little bit there. A little bit got away from me. But yeah, I'm sure seeing a lot of stuff sparkling in this here. I was looking at some of the gravel that's in here, and you've got every kind of rock known to man in this little pit in here. Not one particular type or another. But I know down at the creek side I was getting an awful lot of black sand, so I know these hills of sand and gravel in here, in this area here. I think what it is, it's glacial remnant. Now what I think happened is that this here sand and gravel, it was all laid in a meltwater channel internally in the glacier. And when the glacier receded, all that material just slumped after the water levels were down a certain amount. There was no more classification. That sand and gravel didn't go anywhere. It just melted right through the ice and right down onto the ground and left this little hillside here. And the meltwater channels went around this thing, left a nice little teardrop shaped land formation here. Like I say, it's a couple 100 feet high. The material here is it's a variation of rounded material and angular material. Now what that means is there's some of this stuff that's been reworked a number of times, and there's other stuff in here that has only been worked a couple of times or a little bit. Never saw much water action. Broken up pretty good. Okay, so now I've run through that pan of material. I'm just going to let that clean through the system here. Everything looks perfect for what we got going on. Let that clear that material and I'll dump those tailings. I'll swap out my pans and away we go again. Now I've modified this a little bit the way it originally came. It originally came where you just hook this hose directly into this little spigot or whatever you want to call it right here. Now I added a ball valve up here so I can turn off the water up to the head end of the gold cube and direct it into this clear tubing, which I've got a spray nozzle hooked to it so I can do my cleanup and I can pre-wet my mats with that. That's going to come in really handy. That's all working good. Now, when I was down by the river, there was a lot of clay in the soil down there, and it was really mucking up the water. And what was happening after I ran for a little while in recirculation mode, what ended up happening is clay started to coagulate on itself again and form little balls after being recycled, which would get trapped down into the vortex. And as soon as that clay ball got big enough, well, the water action, it rolled it out of there. Now, if there was any gold in the bottom of that vortex, that little ball of clay rolled it right out the end of the gold cube and into my pan, which at the end of the day I dumped. And I guess I shouldn't have. Because apparently after I did a cleanup out of all my efforts that one day, I was really surprised. I wasn't finding very much gold at all. And I knew from test panning earlier that there was some there, so it kind of shocked me when I didn't find any. So anyways, that's what I figure happened anyway, is the clay gets balled up and flooded that gold right back out of the gold cube and kind of negated my efforts. But I threw a little bit of gold back, and hopefully I get it back tenfold. So give some back to the gold gods in hopes that he'll be appeased and give me some back. Like that would work, but nothing got me back out here, so. Well, there sure is a lot of sparklies in this sand. I can even see it, not even when it's wet, just as I'm feeding it in. So anyways, we're going to continue running this stuff through here. Yeah, see, I can see little particles of gold in here. And I tell they're gold. I put a shadow on it, and it still glows. So I know I'm getting some. Is it worth all my effort? Yep. My effort would be better spent down at the creek. Well, we won't know until we run an equal amount of material from down there. Now that we've got everything set up right, I know what we're doing. I can compare apples to apples. Yeah, see, I see quite a bit in here. This will work out just fine. Anyways, I think I was telling you about those clay balls. Now what I've done to alleviate that is I've got some pool clarifiers, the flocculant, and what basically that does is it drops those suspended particles right out of suspension in the water. Drops them down to the bottom of this here, you know, because this water here is a little bit murky. A little bit of that chemical in there. Once it gets a little bit more dirty than it is right now, I know I'm fine right now. But once this starts getting a little thicker, that's when I'm going to want to add my flocculant in here. Drop all that stuff down to the bottom of the pan, and I can keep running. I can run for a lot longer that way on the same water. This water is hard to come by. It took a lot of effort to get this water up here. I don't want to have to be swapping it out every couple hours. I want to make it last. Like I say, I want to run about 4 or 5 hours in this one spot here, or until I get tired or whatever. Then I'm going to pack out and I'm going to go down to the creek side. Run the same amount of material through down there too. Anyway, I'll continue running this stuff through and I'll catch you back a little bit later.